Hello friends, welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 43. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and this is a YouTube channel about cross stitch, which is the Flosstube part, and the Variety Show means other things, which we'll see what those turn out to be today. I hope that you will find something of interest in this video. I know I have a number of new subscribers in the past couple of weeks. That's fantastic. It's very exciting. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll continue to enjoy these videos and find things of interest and entertaining maybe. So let's get right to the cross stitch part. I'm going to show you Flea Market Flowers. This is designed by Holt. It's published by It's So Emma, which is a part of Fat Quarter Shop. And I have been working on this section. I finished this and started this, which I can show you right now. And this, I just can't tell you how fun this is to stitch. This is 16 count Aida, poor quality Aida, I'll say, and DMC, the called for DMC. Some of you will remember back last, I don't know, winter or fall, maybe even last summer. It's hard to tell how long ago things happened, isn't it? I discovered that this fabric is not actually woven square. It's a little longer this way than this way at the same number of stitches. So everything's a little bit elongated. But fortunately for this kind of a design, that doesn't matter too much, and so I decided to not worry about it. And I'm going to say a word or two in a little bit about some other fabric that's not square. But suffice it to say, I won't be using the rest of this piece of fabric for any kind of a cross stitch where that might matter, where the lack of identical stitch count would matter. Now that is not all I worked on this week in terms of cross stitch. I also worked on Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather, but as is my practice recently, I don't show you that every week, because even if I do 500 or 600 stitches, which is what I've done, maybe more like 800 stitches since the last time I showed it. Since this past week. Just doesn't show up very much. It's a large piece and the colors are really similar to each other. So until I get 2 weeks worth of progress done, I think I'm not going to show it. And then the other thing I've been working on is the next section of design elements for the purple sampler. Now, I showed you a little hint of something that's going to be later in that sampler a couple of videos ago. There's a little teaser, teaser, isn't that funny, for a cross stitch for that. And I've been working on charting that item, and I decided after working on graph paper with a pencil for a while that, this is the age of technology. There is a program called Mac Stitch, which is the Mac version of WinStitch, which is the Windows version of Mac Stitch, which would make this easier. So I researched it and downloaded it and started to learn to use it. And I will say that it's not as intuitive as one might hope, but I'll get onto it. I haven't done a ton of trying to learn it yet. I just sort of tried a few things. They didn't work as quickly and easily as I thought they would. So I have to actually, look at the help manuals and so on, which in this 21st century, especially the 2020s of computers, so many things are so intuitive and everything is so clearly designed in the way things are laid out and the way the graphics, the iconography works, that one would think you could just pick up any old piece of software and know immediately how to use it. And That just isn't true in this case. So I do have to actually study it. So that has slowed me down a bit on that project because I wanted to begin to plot out the next big section and figure out how high it's going to be. That is how much vertical distance I need to leave for it, and then make a decision about exactly how the next 20 inches or so of that whole design are going to be laid out before even adding another border. So that I haven't stitched on that, but I have worked on it, so that counts, right? That counts as cross stitch, even if I haven't actually stitched. And then the other thing that I know I've been hinting at in recent videos is what am I going to stitch next, because I made two things. I have two finishes last video. So one of the things I will stitch next will be a blackbird design, and I will work on it starting the first weekend of June. In the first weekend of the month, BBD weekend Sal. And I haven't decided what that's going to be, which item that's going to be. I have many possibilities. You know, that's the whole problem, isn't it? If I had only one, I would know what to do. But I also have been wanting to start something else, because my sweet spot for cross stitch is having 5 or 6 pieces on the go, because then I'm in the mood for something at any moment that I have the opportunity. And after months of resisting it, I have decided that I'm going to start this. This is Tiger Stare Snippet by Charting Creations. It's full coverage. I'm going to do it on 18 count Aida, and it doesn't really matter what color this is. It happens to be called Sand. I think that's the color, sand or tan or something. It's a light brown, and it's recommended for full coverage pieces that you choose a color that is compatible with the overall design, because it isn't that the stitches, that your fabric is going to really show through, but it may give a hint of itself. And so you want that hint to not be jarring. For instance, you wouldn't want to choose a beet red piece of fabric to stitch a tiger on, because any place that the slightest imperfection in your stitching were to happen, that pink color would show through. But this is an 18 count. It's 6 inches by 19.5 inches, and it's 83 colors of DMC. And I'm going to do it in the called for, of course. You always do full coverage in the called for colors, because otherwise it won't look like what it's supposed to. And I've purchased a lot of skeins of the colors in this, not all of them, because I have a complete set of DMC as of 1990, probably. So obviously there have been some additions to the DMC lineup and some slight modifications in the dye process since 1990-ish. So not all the colors are exactly right, but exactly the same as they were, but they're very close. I mean, they're not, even for this kind of a piece, they're probably fine. But in any instance where I was going to run out of a color before I finished this piece, I wanted to start with all new colors. I didn't want to start a new skein partway through this design, because in that case, any small color differences would probably show up. If, you know, in this stripe, the dark brown looked like this, and then over here it looked a little different, you would notice that. So those are the colors I bought, were the ones to fill in for the my bobbins that I was pretty sure didn't have enough on them. Now the floss list, most of, as you know, if you do cross stitch, most of these patterns have, they come with a list of the colors and the number of stitches in that color and the number of skeins of DMC required for that. And the biggest color in this piece is black, of course, DMC 310, which has 6,400 stitches. And there are a total of, Do I have that total? Oh, how many stitches is it? Well, it's 350 by 108, so 36,000 stitches, roughly. So a sixth of the stitches are black. Am I doing that right? That math right? I think so. I don't know. You can correct me in your comments below if I'm way off, which I sometimes am when I try to do math out loud. Well, actually, I can do math out loud, and I can do math in public, but I try not to do it spontaneously in public out loud. I try to have a scratch paper handy to do it. Anyway, so that is something I'm going to start. It's another full coverage piece, and one of the reasons I've been resisting it is because it has only 83 colors, and they're all whole colors, not blends. I have been afraid that it would just be enough easier than the Under the Roof project that I would work on it instead of Under the Roof and lose momentum on that. And it's possible that that will happen. But if you've ever watched Brenda and the Serial Starter on YouTube, if you haven't watched it, check it out. I really enjoy them. They're two friends. They get together every other Sunday and put up a video, and they have amazing taste, and they have different styles of the way they interact with their craft, and they're funny, kind of funny together, I think. It's really very lovely. But one of the mottos there is stitch what you love. Stitch what you love. So at the moment, that's what I think I love. So I'm going to work on that. Start that. And if I choose to do that in favor of Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather sometimes, well, it's all right. There's no police happening here. So what else? I always have notes before I start these videos. And most of the time I don't refer to them. But today I'm going to, because I have a lot of variety of things to talk about. This quilt behind me, I'll just move aside a little bit so you can get a glimpse, and I'm going to put a picture of the whole quilt that I took this afternoon. Is a quilt I just finished, and this is another reason that I haven't done as much cross stitch, is because I have spent some time finishing this. Now, it isn't that this is urgent. There's no immediate occasion that this needs to be ready for, but you know, you have almost done projects, at least for me. When I have something that's nearly done, I want to finish it, because then it's done. Then I can check it off. Then I can put it away, and it will be ready for whatever occasion arises. This particular quilt, I am sort of considering giving it to my niece and his fiance as a wedding gift when they get married in September. They're my niece. My nephew. That is what I'm trying to say. My nephew and his fiance, who will become my niece-in-law when they get married in September. I assure you they do not watch my videos, so I'm not giving any secrets away by mentioning that. They're also, you know, so Byron, my husband, has a large family. He has 3 siblings and 3 step-siblings, and everybody's married. And there are a lot of children also. The next generation, our son's generation, he has a lot of cousins. And there are children in the following generation as well, our great nieces and nephews. And so it's a very large family. Very large family. And when we all get together, that's a lot of people. Even with some of the oldest, I mean, his parents are no longer alive. His stepfather is no longer alive. Some of that generation gone. Even with that generation gone, it could be easily be 40 people if everybody comes for a family gathering. And I have sort of had it in my mind that I'm going to give a quilt to each family member. And one of the reasons is because I like to make quilts, and eventually one has enough quilts. And what do you do then? I don't want to stop making them. So I'm going to keep making them, and I'm going to give them away. Now, this is in tradition of Granny Faye, whom I talked about last week or the week before, last video or the video before, who made quilts for everybody. And she made multiple quilts for everybody because she just did. And so we have multiple quilts of hers, as I showed in that video. And it may come to me making multiple quilts for everybody also, but at least I would like to make one quilt for everybody, for each person. And so I've started with the generation that is our generation, my husband's siblings and their spouses, siblings, step-siblings and their spouses. And so this quilt might go to one of them, but I might jump down into the occasion bucket and say, hey, Michael's getting married, let me make him a quilt. And I also have I have a great niece being born any day now, and a great nephew due in September. So that's 2 baby quilts that I will make. And I'm sorry to say that I have great nieces and nephews that did not get any quilts because I really wasn't able, both by time and by equipment, to make quilts longer ago than very recently when Cindy and I got our long arm machine. So they may get quilts when they graduate from high school or something. That would be some kind of an occasion to make a quilt for them, but they don't have baby quilts. Anyway, enough babbling. That's what I've been doing on quilting. I think I'll also put a picture up of a little red, white, and blue table topper that I made. I actually made it last fall or summer. It was from a kit from Fat Quarter Shop, which was sort of an experiment. It was a mystery box. It was a 4th of July themed mystery box. And I decided I would buy it and just see what it was, what it amounted to. And it was the fabrics and pattern to make this little quilt, which is very nice. It's about 24 inches square. It was fun to make, went together well. I like the fabrics, and I didn't quilt it for a while because such a small thing, it just isn't worth loading a piece of fabric just for that. Well, I happened to be working on something else that I had loaded a piece of white muslin as backing for, and I had just enough left at the end of that, of both backing and batting, to just plop that little quilt on there. And so I made it, I finished it up, and I recently sent it off to someone. But that was very fun to make and fairly quick, I would say. You know, just a couple of 3 or 4 hours of figuring out the pattern and cutting and sewing. So that was fun. Okay, so speaking of mystery boxes, I have succumbed to 2 things. One is that last year I bought the Missouri Star Quilt Company box called Jenny's Countdown to Christmas, which is a box, it's, you know, maybe 2 feet by 1 foot or something, maybe it's a little bigger, full of little items numbered from 1 to 25, with the idea that you open 1 per day in the month of December. And it was very fun. In fact, if you see pictures, you may see pictures here if I've found the pictures that I took from some of the items that I opened, because I wanted to show Cindy, and she was out of town during some of the time that I was opening these little packages. So I took pictures of them. And it was very fun. I enjoyed it. It was fun to, sort of exciting to get up in the morning and think, oh, I have something to open already. And I really enjoyed many of the things. There's some little projects, most of which I haven't made yet. But it was, you know, it was worth the money for the items as well as for the fun of having them to open. So I pre-ordered that again, and I've put a link in the description box below to Missouri Star Quilt Company, because the pre-orders have closed for the time being. Last year they had pre-orders open in April. They closed them, and then they did reopen pre-orders at some point in the later summer months. So it's possible that that will become available again if you are interested in that. And then today, I confess, I succumbed to another one of these deals. This time it's a cross-stitch related one. Caroline of Evertotes, which is a Canadian, she's a Canadian cross-stitch designer and YouTube person. Caroline, I don't think I know her last name. Her YouTube channel is called, oh yes, Off the Grid Needle Arts is her YouTube channel. It's entertaining, it's nice. I watch it occasionally. She's not one of my regulars, but I do tune in to her every now and then. And she partners with Leo and Roxy, which is a Canadian thread and fabric dyeing small business, and with Modern Folk Embroidery, which is Jacob somebody, again, I can't think of his last name, and he is in, I think, the Netherlands, and he does embroidery, cross-stitch design and reproduction of samplers, and he's kind of an interesting person. And anyway, they partner from time to time on projects where he has done the chart, and she puts together kits made up of fabric and floss, which are dyed by the Leo and Roxy business. And I don't know what happened. I watched a little video that they did together talking about this Christmas project, this Advent, 1 to 25 December stitch along and doodads and the little presents in the box, and I ordered it. Yeah, I did. It's a mystery. It's a mystery why I ordered it, and it's also a mystery in terms of the project, in that, so what they have said about it is that there will be a little something to stitch every day, a little bit to stitch, and that you will be provided the fabric, which you can choose the kind of fabric. So I chose 18 count Aida, and you can choose, and you will be provided the floss, the Leo and Roxy floss, to stitch that day's portion of it. And at the end of the project, you will have something that you worked on throughout that time period, and it's seasonal but not limited. So it may have a Christmassy or winter holiday feel to it, but it won't be necessarily greens and golds and reds. And you won't look at it in April and say, oh, I better put that away. So, why not? It'll be fun to see what that amounts to. I really am crazy. That's crazy. December, that's our calmest month around here, isn't it? We have nothing going on in December. There's plenty of time to just sit around and make quilts and stitch and do little special projects all the time. That's all we do in December, is that. There's no parties, there's no special baking, no gifts to wrap, no decorations to put up. Nope. So I have plenty of time to do cross stitch. So a couple of, I was going to say a couple of other things, but really, I don't have much else to say today. I am about to, as soon as I have finished recording this video and doing the tiny amount of editing that I do, which you all maybe wish that I would do more, but I'm not going to, probably anytime soon. But I will stick some pictures in as promised. I will do that. I will upload it. And then I will do this month's round 5 of the World Puzzle Federation Sudoku Grand Prix. And I think I have put or will put a link to that website in the description box. It is round 5 out of 8 rounds, and so you probably won't be your nation's top Sudoku solver if you only start now. But you could still have fun with it if you enjoy Sudoku. So I mean, don't be discouraged from doing it. You can join anytime. There's no special requirements. There's no qualification rounds or anything like that. You just join. Believe me, there's no qualification rounds, because if there were, I wouldn't be doing it because I wouldn't qualify. But I think it's kind of fun. I think it's fun to do something like that, a little bit under the gun, and having to focus, having to sort of concentrate and try to really do my best at something which is it's not by any means out of my comfort zone or enjoyment place, but doing it for 90 minutes is not what I normally do with Sudoku, so it's kind of a little bit of a stretch. Anyway, all right, enough babbling, Emily, enough. Say goodnight. Okay. Good night, friends, and many blessings to you.